All right, just wanted to make a quick video for you here to act as a refresher on simplifying radicals. So remember, when we are simplifying our radicals, the numbers that I have off to the left here are going to be very important because those are perfect squares, and those are ultimately what we're going to use to help us simplify. Okay, so when I want to get something in a simplest radical form, really I focus on the number that's under the radical. So the example I gave you here is the square root of 72. I'm going to focus on that 72, and I want to think what numbers are, what numbers can 72 be divided by? Okay, what are the factors of 72? And I want to do that because at some point I'm hoping that I can find a pair of numbers so that one of them is a perfect square. Because if that's the case, then that means that I can reduce this square root down to some other more simplified radical. Okay, so looking at our example, square root of 72, what numbers is 72 divisible by? Well, I can divide it by 2. If I do that, I get 36. I'll come back to that in a moment. If I divide it by 3, I get 24. So 3 and 24 are factors. I can also do 9 times 8. Okay, so all of those are possibilities. But I'm going to go back to the first one I said, which was 2 times 36. Why do I want that? Because 36 is one of our perfect squares over here. Okay, so that's the largest perfect square that 72 is divisible by. Okay, so what that means is I can then rewrite that radical as the square root of 36 times 2. All right, and then once I have it written like that, I can actually separate that out, and this is the same thing as saying the square root of 36 times the square root of 2. Okay, the square root of a product is equal to the product of the square roots. Why am I doing that? Because I know what this is. Okay, the square root of 36. 36 is a perfect square. If I take the square root, I get 6. That is equal to 6. So now this becomes 6 times the square root of 2, which is just 6 square roots of 2. Okay, so it's all about trying to break down the number underneath the radical into some sort of a combination of two numbers so that one of them is a perfect square. I can make up any number I want and do this process again. So let's do square root of 108. Okay, square root of 108. I'm thinking about numbers that 108 is divisible by. Well, if I divide it by 2, I get 54. Okay, 2 is not a perfect square. 54 is not a perfect square. What about 3? If I do 108 divided by 3, what do I get when I do that? 108 divided by 3 is going to give me 36. So again, that's going to be, that's a bad example because it's going to be very similar to this last one. So if I break it down into 36 times 3, again, that's the same thing as the square root of 36 times the square root of 3. And we already just did this. This becomes 6 square roots of 3. I'll try to pick a different number here that's not going to turn out so nice. Let's do, how about let's do 270. Square root of 270. All right. What are some factors of 270? Well, to me, anything that ends in a 0, if you can divide it by 10, right? I get 27 times 10. 27 is not a perfect square. 10 is not a perfect square. Remember, we wanted to divide it into two numbers so that one of them belongs to this list over here. Okay? And one of the ways that you can sort of help yourself out is you could really just start by dividing by those numbers, right? I could see, is 270 divisible by 4? So in my calculator, I'll do 270 divided by 4, and I get 67.5. So that one doesn't work. What about, is it divisible by 9? Let's do 270 divided by 9. Oh, that works out nicely. I've got 9 and 30. I wonder if there's anything bigger. And then you can just keep going down the list that way. So I am fairly certain that that is going to be the best one. So I'm going to at least start there. So I'm going to say that this is the same thing as the square root of 9 times 30. That's the same thing as the square root of 9 times the square root of 30. This here is equal to 3. So this is 3 square roots of 30. Now, if I'm not totally convinced that this is simplest radical form, I can then continue to think, okay, what are the factors of 30? So 30 is divisible by 2. I could do 2 times 15. That's divisible by 3. I could do 3 times 10. What else is it divisible by? 6 times 5. Okay, but if you'll notice, none of these are perfect squares. Okay, so that means that this right here is simplest radical form. There is no factor of 30 that is a perfect square. There's nothing that belongs to this list, this list over here. Okay, so that means I am done. It is in simplest radical form. There's nothing else I can do. Okay, so I'm hoping that this video acts as a nice refresher for you and allows you to complete any of the assignments that I give to you.